What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Season of the Risen only has a couple of weeks left and I still want to drop a couple more Void 3.0 build videos, and with this one I'm going to be talking about the Warlocks with the Nezarec Sin exotic helmet. Now just know, take this video with a grain of salt. Obviously with Void 3.0 there's a multitude of options we can choose from when it comes to aspects, fragments, mods, especially if you dive into the Charge of Light mods, Elemental Well mods, like all this stuff. There's a multitude of options, right? Again, these are just the ones that worked for me, and I got 3 builds for you that I think will benefit you for most activities. But before we get into it, number 1, if you like what you see, again, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another upload. Number 2, I do stream live on Twitch, twitch.tv/ItsDaveTVGaming. Again, I stream there about 3 days a week. Obviously, with the season kind of slowing down a little bit, I've been playing other games like Valorant. Obviously, you know, Halo Season 2 starts. Don't know how that's going to go, but I definitely want to check it out. But mostly here, we're going to be doing Destiny 2 stuff, and that's what I mostly do on stream as well. So if you want to come by, again, that link is in the description. And number 3, if you want to be a part of my community, I do have a Discord. That link will also be in the description. Again, we have mainly people playing Destiny 2 and looking for activities and stuff like that. I actually just made a Sherpa role, so if you end up helping out a bunch of people in the server, again, you could potentially get that role. But again, we have other things in there as well, like PC tech, anime, mindset. Like there's a bunch of stuff in there as well, especially other games like Valorant and Elden Ring, and there's plenty of memes as well. So if you want to join, again, that link will be in the description. Now that we got that out of the way, let's dive into it. All right, for these first 2 builds, I'm going to be focusing on grenade regeneration. Just keep that in mind. So for the super, I just went with the Vortex. You could go with the Slovo Bomb if you wanted to. Again, the other abilities here don't really matter. For the grenade specifically, though, I did go with Vortex. Okay, and the main reason is for Chaos Accelerant. Our first aspect here, it increases the size and the linger duration of it, which is definitely something that I want. Again, you could go with the other grenades, but I think Vortex Grenade, especially if we're going to be focusing this on a grenade build, I want to be able to charge up that grenade, have a bigger one, and then also with the added on fragments, which I'll talk about. Next, Feed the Void. Again, you defeat a target with a Void ability and activate Devour. Devour is active. Final Blows restore health and extend Devour, which also gives you grenade energy on kills. And again, the main reason I want to do Vortex and have the charge up Vortex is to proc Echo of Undermining here. Your Void grenades weaken targets. Again, this is going to be good when taking down, you know, mini bosses and bosses, and plus being able to like have a bigger Vortex grenade to suck more enemies in, I think is going to be really good as well. Echo of Exchange, melee final blows, grant grenade energy. Again, you can switch this one out for a different one if you would like. I just like this one in particular, especially if I don't have Devour and I need to get a melee kill to proc Devour again, to be able to keep chaining kills, to keep getting the grenade, etc, etc. Then I went with Echo of Reprisal. Final blows when surrounded by combatants grant super energy. Again, with our helmet Nezarec Sin, any void kills, doesn't matter whether it's weapon or ability, is going to help regen our super and our other abilities. And I just thought, hey, why not be able to get the super a little bit faster? Next, let's run down through the armor. So the helmet, like we mentioned, it's going to be Nezarec Sin. Its perk, Abyssal Extractors. Void damage kills, increase ability, energy recharge rate. Again, void damage. Doesn't matter whether it's a weapon or ability. As long as it's void, this perk will proc. And again, for the mods here, main things to note. Harmonic Siphon. Rapid weapon final blows with damage matching your subclass type create an orb of power. Again, since we're going to be rocking a Void subclass, going to be rocking Void weapons to have Abyssal Extractors up almost constantly. When we get kills with those Void weapons, we might as well create an Orb of Power. Again, that helps us get our super back faster. You can also use this for Charge of Light builds, which I will be talking about. But for this build in particular, the other mod to take note of is Well of Tenacity. Picking up a Void Elemental Well reduces the damage you take from combatants for a short period of time. For your gauntlets, main thing to note that I use Elemental Time Dilation. Elemental Well mods that grant you time-limited benefits can now stack, increasing the duration of the effect for each copy of the mod you have equipped. For our chest armor, main thing to note, Font of Might, which it only costs 1 for Season of the Risen, by the way. It'll cost 4 normally if you use this build outside of the season, but that's not a big deal. In any event, picking up an Elemental Well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same elemental type. And lastly, for our class item, main thing to note, Volatile Flow. Picking up an Elemental Well grants your Void weapons volatile rounds. And again, like I mentioned, the stat we're going to be focusing on is Discipline. Again, we have the fastest grenade cooldown possible, plus with the helmet and getting kills with Void weapons and Void abilities, we'll be able to get it back even faster. Weapon-wise, again, you just want to use Void weapons. I'll be talking about this a little more in depth at the end, just because I want to get through these builds, but I'll tell you the reason why I'll be using certain kinetic weapons as well. If you're not catching the synergy here, again, Elemental Ordnance, once you get a kill with a grenade, it'll spawn that Void Elemental Well. You'll pick that up. That'll proc Font of Might for extra weapon damage damage on void weapons. Again, Well of Tenacity, again, you get damage resistance once you pick up a void elemental well. And then Volatile Flow, again, you pick up that void elemental well, you get volatile rounds for all your void weapons. Then we also have elemental time dilation, which makes all three of those last longer. And again, with the synergy from Nezarec, Sin, and then also Feed the Void by proccing Devour, you're going to be able to get those void abilities and your super back very, very quickly. You're pretty much always going to have damage resistance up, you know, volatile rounds up, Font of Might up all the time. As long as you are getting the grenade and getting the kills and picking up the wells, that's all you have to do. And since our grenade energy is maxed out, you're going to get your grenade pretty easily. And again, like I mentioned, if you don't have your grenade, you run out of Devour, you're having issues, again, you can always get kills with the void weapons, which helps. But then again, Echo of Exchange, melee final blows, grenade energy. Again, you do have pocket singularity, that's void, so that will help out in the grenade department. And again, just as a side note, I have Bomber on my class item, reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. And then I also have Innervation here, reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. And again, we're creating orbs with Harmonic Siphon from the void weapons, so again, even if you don't have your grenade, you're gonna be able to get it back. Moving on to the second build, this is very similar to the first build. Just to give you a heads up, I'm just going to be talking about a couple of differences. So again, everything else stays the same for abilities and aspects. The only fragment I changed out was the one for this one, Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds for your void weapons. Again, we're going to get our grenade pretty quickly, so you're going to be able to have those volatile rounds up pretty much all the time. For this, the helmet, the gauntlets, and the chest armor stay the same across the board. I move the Elemental Ordnance Elemental Well mod down to the class item, and then for the boots, I substitute in what would be, again, Volatile Flow. I substitute in Font of Wisdom. Picking up an Elemental Well that matches your subclass energy type grants you a temporary significant increase in your intellect, improving the recharge rate of your super. And again, we're going to be focusing on the grenade recharge rate, but again, mainly it's the same thing here. You get the kill with a grenade, it spawns that void elemental well. Again, you have Font of Might, elemental time dilation, and Well Tenacity. That'll last longer. Oh, by the way, you just got to kill with a grenade. That procs volatile rounds because of Echo of Instability. And then also, whenever you pick up that well, Font of Wisdom pops in, faster super recharge rate. Oh, you're surrounded by ads, Echo of Reprisal, Final Blows, when surrounded by combatants grants you super energy. Again, this is kind of like the middle ground of if you want to have volatile rounds, it won't last as long since it's not an elemental well mod and it's not tied to elemental time dilation like it was on the first build, but you will be able to get that super just, you know, significantly faster because again, you're picking up those elemental wells, you're getting a grenade very often. Plus Nezarec Sin kicking in with the void kills from, again, your weapons and your abilities. Again, this is just a second build that I built off the first one. I personally like the first one better, but if you're someone who's like, hey, maybe I want to get my super a little faster, we can do this. Now, speaking of fast supers, this is what the third build is going to be used for. So again, most of the stuff stays the same across the board, super and ability-wise. I still go with the Vortex Grenade. I still have Feed the Void, but I change out the Chaos Accelerant for Child of the Old Gods. Again, I'm going to read this as a long description, but pretty much cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. When a target is being drained, if you are granted grenade and melee energy if you're running the Healing Rift, or health if you're running the Empowering Rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability energy. And again, for our fragments down here, most of the stuff stay the same. I do have Echo of Undermining. I do have Echo of Reprisal still. Decided to toss on Echo of Instability for those volatile rounds when I get kills with grenades, because again, we still have Feed the Void. We still have our Vortex Grenade. We'll still be able to proc Devour and get that grenade fairly often, so I just left this one here, but you can substitute it out. And then I did also go with Echo of Remnants to have a longer Vortex Grenade. Again, you can substitute this one out as well. For the helmet, again, I still do have Harmonic Siphon, and then the Elemental Ordnance. Again, you defeat a combatant with a grenade and it spawns an Elemental Well that matches your subclass energy type, in this case, Void. For our gauntlets, main things to note here: Elemental Charge. Become Charge of Light by picking up an Elemental Well. If the Elemental Well's elemental type matches your subclass element, you gain 2 stacks of Charge of Light instead of 1. For our chest piece, main thing to note, Supercharge. You have 2 additional stacks of Charge of Light, up to a maximum of 5. For the boots, main thing to note, Energy Converter. While you are charged with light, using your grenade attack grants you super energy, consuming all stacks of Charge of Light. The more stacks you have, the more energy you gain, up to a maximum of 50% of your super. So once you get half your super and you're charged with light and you throw a grenade, it doesn't do anything. But once you use the super and you throw the grenade again, it starts that cycle again of the stacks. And then for our class item, again, main thing to note here, Bountiful Wells. Elemental well mods that cause you to spawn elemental wells can now stack, spawning additional wells for each additional copy of the mod you have equipped. And this time around, the main stat we're going to be focusing on is intellect. Again, we want to be able to get our super back as quickly as possible. So if you can't tell the synergy, All right, elemental ordnance. Get a kill with your grenade, that'll spawn a void well. You get 2 void wells with bountiful wells. Again, with elemental charge, if you pick up a well that matches your subclass, you get charge light times 2. There's 2 void wells. You get charge light times 4 automatically, which allows you to keep it because it's supercharged, because again, you have more stacks of charge of light available. And then energy converter, you throw that grenade, that gets converted into super energy. And again, if you get kills with the grenade, you also get, again, volatile rounds for your void weapons. Your void grenades that weaken the targets. If you're surrounded by combatants, you get super energy. And again, that void grenade will last longer, which could potentially pull more enemies in by the end of it. And then also be able to create those elemental wells again. Now, as you can tell in this example, my grenade stat is literally all the way at the bottom. So that's why I substituted in something like Child of the Old Gods. Again, I really like Echo of Undermining, be able to weaken targets, especially with a grenade. The Child of the Old Gods will also be able to weaken targets. If I'm rocking that Healing Rift, I'll be able to gain grenade and energy back, so that could potentially be helpful as well. And trust me, if you have Devour rocking on this thing and you're using your void weapons, especially with Nezarec Sin kicking in with the Abyssal Extractors, you'll be able to get your grenade back fast, even if the charge is pretty much at the bottom. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I want to talk about some weapons you can use. Obviously, Funnel Web is a very good weapon this time around, obviously, especially if you can get something like Adrenaline Junkie or Frenzy, again, for that extra damage. Now, for the heavy, I just have Razor's Edge on with Chain Reaction just because it's a Void Sword, but you can also do something like Threaded Needle, and there's a variety of other weapons here in the energy slot, including something like Graviton Lance. Again, Pulse Rifles has Unstop right now. Graviton, it's still one of my favorite guns to use, in all honesty. And again, you also have something like Dead Messenger as well, which if you need to change from Void to Solar to Arc, again, this is a weapon that can do those things. Main thing to note, if you have a kinetic weapon that has Osmosis, it'll make this build even more effective, because again, this is going to be based on Void kills, doesn't matter whether it's weapons or abilities. And if you're focusing on grenades, like with the first 2 builds, again, Osmosis here. Using your grenade ability changes this weapon's subclass damage type to match your subclass until you stow it. So if you have this weapon out and you throw the grenade, it turns this weapon to a void weapon. So Escape Velocity, for example, turns to a void weapon, which means it can get Phantom Might, which means it can get volatile rounds. So you literally have a kinetic weapon that has automatic void damage on it, right? And again, there are a couple weapons that do come with Osmosis, and I do talk about that in another video of some of the best weapons you can get with Osmosis, but you can always do something like Traveler's Chosen as well, because if you have the masterwork done for it from the Catalyst, again, you can get Osmosis on it. Unfortunately, that does take up your exotic slot, but again, I would focus on trying to find a kinetic weapon with Osmosis to optimize your build even more. Again, just for this example, I have Izanagi's, Funnel Web, and Razor's Edge. Again, Os DPS, add clear, take out some mid-tier enemies with the sword with Chain Reaction. Like, again, this is just one of many weapons you can use, but again, definitely keep the Osmosis thing in mind. And that is the video, guys. Obviously, 3 builds. We went through all 3 of those. If you need to go back and look through and mix some stuff up, again, you can switch out the mods for other mods, and again, fragments for other fragments. Like I said, take this video with a grain of salt. You have 1,000,001 options with Void 3.0. These are just the ones that I liked and found effective. And if you have any builds that you guys have done as well, leave those in the comments. Again, I'm testing stuff all the time in this game, PvP and PvE wise, and I love testing stuff out. Most of the builds that I really end up doing is for the player to go in and be able to use for a variety of activities at a variety of difficulties. Maybe not extreme endgame type stuff, but you can go into almost any activity with any of these builds and do very well, especially if you have certain weapons on that allow for, you know, anti-barrier, overload, and unstoppable champions. But like I said, if you like what you see, again, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell next to notifications, follow me on Twitch, join the Discord. If you guys don't know, I have a partnership with Overpowered. If you do want to check them out, that link will be in the description, and use code Dave for a discount at checkout. But in any event, guys, hope to catch you in the next one.